Let's go live to Melbourne now. Liberal MP Tim Wilson joins us. Tim Wilson, good to see you. It was a big weekend of meetings with our US-friendly allies. They've asked Australia to have missiles based in Northern Australia. Does that make you nervous?
No, it doesn't make me nervous at all. My focus, like everybody else, is what we need to do is to secure the nation and to work with our allies and partners. Now, this is a proposal. It's something for discussion. The Minister has not ruled it out because we haven't got any concrete proposal, and these are the sorts of things that we always need to consider as part of our national security framework. And
part of that consideration would surely be the retaliation from China.
Well, every country will look at these sorts of decisions differently as we look at their conduct in the South China Sea and raise questions about that. And, of course, other countries will look at it and ask questions, and they're entirely within their rights to do so. But our job as the Government of Australia is to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to secure our nation, our nation's best interests. And whether that's going down this path or not remains to be seen based on the proposal and whether we see it is in mutual interest.
A more immediate and firm request was for Australia to join a coalition in the Strait of Hormuz to protect oil shipping. Do you see that as a more reasonable request, one that we're more likely to acquiesce to?
Well, we won't acquiesce. We'll make decisions based on what's in Australia's national interest. Now, if we see that as being in our national interest and being in the best interest
in the national interest?
I don't want to announce foreign policy on behalf of the government on your program this morning, despite your best ambitions. But Australia's interest as a trading nation has always been to have open shipping channels to make sure that we can have goods transported throughout the region without interference or without interruption. Now, if we feel that isn't the case and it's necessary to take action, then we will, but we won't do it in isolation. We'll consider it very carefully.
OK, looking at economic data around this week, we see consumer spending has stalled, the trade war continues, our current cash rate is at 1%, the RBA meets tomorrow. I mean, your government described 3% as emergency levels. How would you describe 1%?
Well, I've argued consistently I don't think the RBA should be lowering interest rates, and I maintain that view. And I noticed the shadow board at the ANU today has been saying that they don't think the RBA should be lowering interest rates further. Now, that's obviously up to them. They're an independent body. The RBA will be coming, or more particularly the Governor of the Reserve Bank, will be coming and appearing before the Economics Committee, which I chair on Friday, and we will be interrogating and quizzing every single aspect of the decisions they've made over the past 2 cuts and their decision tomorrow. So
you will be questioning, as you put it, interrogating the RBA governor on Friday.
Absolutely.
What in particular do you want him to elaborate on as to the reasoning behind the latest interest rate cut, and there could well be another one tomorrow?
Well, I want to know the basis of it because we obviously seen the minutes, but I want to make sure that they're factoring in the full consequences of their decisions, making sure that they're fully aware of all of the different data sets and also the impact it's going to have. The RBA publishes its own research papers from time to time. What they clearly show is that every time they cut rates, it increases the amount of debt people take on. What it clearly shows is that that makes houses more unaffordable, it reduces consumer spending, and what we know is that every time they cut rates, while it might benefit those people with a large amount of debt on interest-only debt, it's diminishing the capacity for many Australian retirees to have disposable income. So I want to be confident they know what they're doing and they're making the right decisions.
Why do you think you know better than the RBA board? That seems to be what you're putting forward this morning.
No, I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just going off the RBA's own research, and I want a full and frank explanation about why their actions are often in contradiction to their own research base.
But, well, the government is asking the government to do more. Is the RBA having to pull these levers because your government isn't doing enough?
Well, the RBA is faced with a number of decisions they need to make. They're obviously exposed also to the decisions of other central banks. Last week, the Central Bank of the United States cut their rates. That means that they have to make a decision about whether they cut rates to stay in step, or whether they risk a flow in of capital, which would have an impact on the value of our currency. So all of these things need to be considered. But I've consistently said I'm in favour of structural reform in terms of tax reform. We've done some of that. I think we need to keep going. We are keep going under the plan that we passed through the Parliament, despite the obstacles of Labor. But we've also got to look at productivity reforms like industrial relations as well. This is part of the discussion we're having.
Yep, it's an ongoing one. Thanks so much for your time this morning, Tim Wilson.